So I have my line of soldiers. We've deliberately put them just outside your bow shot. They're still laughing at us. Here's the challenge then. Strip the fletchings, go again, sort them out. An unfletched arrow actually has fantastic advantages out at extreme distance. What about close distance? Hi, it's Todd at Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here, and I've made a series of films where I'm doing simple modifications to war arrows to try and make them shoot further. But basically, at this point now, I need to do it for real. So I've called in Joe Gibbs with one of his monster war bows. Joe, welcome.
Thank you, Todd.
What weight are you shooting today?
So we've got 160 pounds today.
So these arrows weighing in at 90 grams. Heavy.
Heavy. Yeah, I normally shoot about 60 grams, 65, 70 grams.
Right.
So yeah, they're a lot heavier, yeah.
It doesn't really matter for this test because this is not about distance. This is about the difference between one thing and another. So on that note, Joe, can I explain what I've been doing in these previous films?
Yeah, please do, yeah.
So I have my line of soldiers. We've deliberately put them just outside your bow shot. So as you stand with your standard arrows, we'll see you shoot. Well, you're probably not going to reach them.
No.
So this was my problem the other day.
Okay.
And what I did is I've read that if you modify your arrows in certain ways, you can get a greater distance. So I wanted to try it. So I removed the whipping that is at the end, you know, the thread that holds the feathers down. And it didn't go as far.
It did not?
No, okay. I thought it would reduce the drag.
Yeah.
So anyway, the first thing, what I've been told, rubbish, didn't work. What I also did was I reduced the length of the fletching, so I cut them down. That helped a little bit, still didn't get to my guys.
Okay.
So then what I did, I wasn't expecting that. In desperation, I thought I'd just take the fletchings off completely, and I thought the arrow would just tumble. I thought it'd be rubbish, but a bit funny. Bald arrow, just as nature intended. Dead straight, straight down, past the guys.
Did it?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So the first thing you have to ask, you ever shot an arrow without fletchings?
I've never shot an arrow without fletchings. Nope.
Okay, all right. So this is going to be new to you as well.
Definitely will be.
All right, fantastic. So we put that up. That film went crazy busy in the comments section. It was brilliant, so insightful, so educational. They made a load of suggestions. The first suggestion they said was, okay, well, if the whipping reduces the drag, try whipping the whole shaft.
Yeah.
So I did that.
Yep. Did it work?
No.
Ah, okay.
Then they said, cover it in golf ball dimples. That definitely works.
Did it work?
No.
No. Okay.
So then I shortened the fletch and I lowered the fletch, and that really helped, actually.
Okay,
it really helped. So basically feathers, but much smaller feathers.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That was great. That's the first one. That's the second one. And wait for it. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? There is the third one. Wahey! We got him. You know, I did it before in the other film. I thought, well, let's take the fletchings off, see what it does. Took the fletchings off. It went about 15% further than a regular fletch shaft. That's massive. So that was a great thing to do and very, very educational.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, I was using my bow simulator.
Okay, dokie.
Ugly beast. But the thing is, it's good. It is genuinely good, forgive me for it, but it does a very repeatable shot. Same angle, same power, same strength, no short draw, no little flicks on the fingers. Yep. It's perfect every time, but it's not a longbow. That's a longbow. Yep. So if we want the real thing, there is nothing more real than Joe with a longbow. So, you going to do our shooting for us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right.
I'm excited.
Looking pretty good, Joe, for that distance.
Not too bad.
So we're what? We're about 240 yards out, something like that. That's a lot. So we have got a spread here, 7 by 10.
Okay.
7 by 10 paces. Brilliant.
Okay.
But, as expected, they're still laughing at us.
Yeah. We've not reached them, have we?
No. Here's the challenge then. Strip the fletchings, go again, sort them out.
They're dry, to be fair.
Brilliant. I mean, that looked faultless from my point of view. How did it feel?
To start with, it's strange to put as funny as it may seem, like a bare shaft on the string, but not as bad as I thought they would come out, to be honest.
Yeah.
One of them was a bit iffy, but the other two actually came out quite nicely.
Proof of the pudding is in the eating, so let's go and have a look and see what we got. So that's our first post.
Yep.
That's where our first 3 arrows went.
Oh, there's one there.
Oh, there's one right here.
Oh, just there.
Looking down the end of it.
Oh, and there's the other one there, back there.
21 paces further.
Okay.
So that's about, what, 18 metres, 20 yards-ish.
Yeah. Bit more wider spread than last time.
Yeah, bit wider spread, bit deeper.
Yeah. I wish I'd got one to them at least.
It's always that way, though, isn't it? But you're scaring them. It's a start.
True. Yep.
But the first thing that is really interesting here is the oscillation factor. Because when I did this off the crossbow, I got 15% greater range. And we got 8% greater range off the longbow.
Okay.
So maybe there is something going on there.
Yeah, maybe the energy is being expended trying to straighten itself more than a crossbow.
Yeah, but regardless of that, it doesn't give you the 15%, but it gives you 8%.
Yep.
8%, a good improvement.
It is for distance, yeah.
They're cheaper to make.
Yep.
It's easier to get materials because you need less of them.
Yep.
Easier to transport, easier to carry, easier to store. They last longer because the feathers don't get eaten. There are so many reasons that you'd want them. And on top of that, they shoot further. This loss of accuracy, if you're shooting an army, does it matter?
Not at this distance, no. And not if there was a lot of targets.
We know from our work on arrows versus armour that actually it's about quantities of arrows. It's not about individual shots on the whole.
Yep.
It's luck, it's chance, and it's just throwing a load down there. And this is a load of arrows getting thrown down there for less money and greater range. Why didn't they do it? So, Joe, I think we both agree that an unfletched arrow actually has fantastic advantages out at extreme distance. What about close distance?
We've got to see that one, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
We go do it.
Hi, it's Todd here, and even in England, it's summertime. So it's time to get your summer knives. What are summer knives, you ask? Well, are you doing a hog roast? You need a messer, quite clearly. Are you doing a smaller steak barbecue? Well, a rugger would do you very well. General barbecue cooking, southern style brisket, barbecue skewers with style, Sunday roast. And then finally, of course, for a little bit of gardening work, brush clearing, you need a camp knife. Longbows could be used at extreme range like we have just seen. And there's still plenty of energy left in the arrows to kill at those distances. But if the target is closer, the arrow has more energy, it is more accurate, your shot for shot is going to work better. And they knew this. So the artwork at the time shows flat, close shooting again and again. Not the 200, 220 metres you see on film, but 40 metres, 30 metres, 50 metres, 60 metres, something like that. Close enough that the arrows really count. Battle tactics also dictated that you put the archers close for exactly that reason, that their weapons are the most effective at the shorter ranges. And you'd achieve this by using obstacles and cover. So hedges, ditches, fences, tree lines, anything that you can that is going to slow an advancing body of men and allow you to shoot for as long as possible and as close as possible. And so that means that, yes, your arrows might go a long distance, but they also have to be a really effective weapon very close. Joe, welcome back to the close shooting. 30 metres away is our boss.
Okay.
Let rip. Nice shooting. How do you feel about that in terms of the grouping, the arrows, differences between things?
Sort of with these arrows, they're not my arrows, so if you were just given sort of 24 arrows as such,
if you're a soldier.
Yeah, as if you're a soldier, you're not really sure of the weights and the spine of them, and that matters because just for sort of accurate shooting, really. So if they're too stiff, then they're going to come off a bit left, and if they're a bit weak, they'll come off right, and you don't really have a clue of what the arrows are going to do. So we had that first round just now, and I sort of just had a quick feel of these arrows, and then this second round I felt a bit more comfortable
So
with
you
them.
remembered how each arrow shot?
Yeah, so I knew which one did what.
All right. But our soldiers on the front line haven't got any of that kind of benefit, basically.
No.
There is an inherent inability to predict exactly where your arrow is going to go when it's just munitions grade issued to you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. But we got there with this, so that's nice. But now what we're going to do is shoot without fletchings.
Okay.
Hey, do you know where it went?
Yeah, in the long grass. I'll be surprised if any of them get on the target. To the right a bit, Todd. So right a bit more. Bit more. Yeah, there somewhere. I don't think you'll find it. So it comes off really nicely, and then it gets halfway, and then it starts just doing its own thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
Wild.
So, you stay there, try and lead me.
Oh, we got it.
Well, I think that's beginning to explain what fletches are about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So it seems that at the longer distance, it's got time to correct. It
Yeah.
probably does that and then it settles down.
Yeah.
But at these shorter distances, it doesn't. And that's, in a way, what we were talking about with the quality of equipment earlier on the last round, where you're shooting with the fletched arrows, is you could say, well, these archers are going to shoot their arrows and they're going to be perfect. They're only going to select the best ones and they'll be perfectly tuned to their bows and things like that. In an army of 5,000 archers on the march, is that really a viable possibility? And I think basically not.
No.
So you get what you're given and you shoot it, variables and all. So the fact that a bare bow archer now, or sorry, a hunting archer can tune their arrows now to shoot this distance doesn't mean that you can. We had 2 misses. And you're not, it's been a while, has it?
Yeah.
You're not a man to miss a 1.2 metre boss at 30 metres. No. So we're going to move the distance closer because it's just not working. We've had 2 misses, 1 loss, and we've only got 2 shafts left. So we're going to close it to what, 20 metres?
Yeah, let's try 20, yeah.
Let's try 20,
Yep.
see if Joe can get it on there. That was absolutely crazy to see, Joe.
It was
Thank
wild.
you. So, which was the first one? That one was the first?
Yeah, I think it was that one.
I think it was the first?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was the one which went sideways the
Yes,
first one,
I
wasn't
think
it?
it's sideways,
so
yeah.
absolutely went sideways and just sort of corrected and then struck.
Yep.
And then this one came and just corrected before target.
Yeah. I feel if this target was even 3 feet further back, they would have missed completely.
Yeah.
I feel like the angle it was travelling in, it would have then over-corrected itself almost. And
I just wasn't expecting that.
yeah,
That it would have some sort of weird oscillation, sort of straight, go crazy, and then straighten up again.
Yeah.
So I think you might be right, that this is just like the sweet spot where they're just beginning to swing around
yeah,
and come on. So,
I think so.
Let's move this back
Okay.
3 metres,
yeah.
and we'll just shoot again. So what happened on that one?
It was going pretty straight, and then just before the target, it just went off, veered off. I missed the last one, and that one came out so straight. There's just no reason in it.
Joe, brilliant. So I just love what we find out with this sort of thing. But
Yes.
these were your first 3 shafts, fletched
Yep.
obviously, and they're basically going in
Yeah.
square to the target, dead straight.
Yep.
These 2 here have landed. Lots of them missed, and there's one thing we know about Joe. Joe is not a guy who misses a target like this at this distance. Fletching clearly helps with accuracy. I think we all knew that. But also these arrows have hit at really quite a steep angle, haven't
They have, yeah. Yeah.
If you want to expend your energy, all of the energy of the arrow, into the target, it basically has to hit straight, because if it doesn't hit straight, it hits at an angle, the head might snap off. We saw it again in Arrows vs. Armour. The head snaps off, the shaft breaks, it glances away. But the penetration also, even if you're just going to hit raw flesh, is going to be, it's not nice, but it's going to be less on an arrow like that than it is an arrow going in straight. So you really don't want your arrows to fly weirdly.
Yeah.
And boy, did they fly weirdly.
They were so wild. I find that these ones, yes, you can shoot them ish at a target, but with the feathers on, the feathers seem to soak up some of the inconsistencies of the spine then, or the arrow.
So they help with the mismatched shaft as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to say, actually, we're talking about mismatched shafts, and we have done a little bit, not because I'm trying to explain away Joe not getting groupings like that or whatever. The reality of a medieval force is that you might have guys on a 120-pound bow, you might have guys on a 180-pound bow, but they're all going to have the same arrows. That's what's issued. And there will always be mismatched equipment.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. So these ones here, they were doing something really weird, that they came out straight. Well, no, they didn't. They came out at a funny angle. They did this, they did that, to maybe 15 metres. Then they started to straighten up, but presumably sort of swing the other way. Yeah. At 20 metres, that seemed to be a sweet spot that they were landing straight. So as long as the enemy is 20 metres away, exactly, no more, no less, you'll be good. And then after that 20-metre mark, they start to go all weird again.
Yeah. So I feel if this target was 60 metres, it'd be impossible to hit with these things. Right. It's almost like they get more wild the further away they get more and more crazy to a certain extent, and then they straighten back up again, as we did earlier, as the distance.
The fletchings give a really radical, hard course correction to the arrow. And this does give it, but it's very gentle, very subtle, very suggesting.
Yeah.
And that works over 220, 240 metres. It doesn't work over 40, 50, 60. It appears. So there we are. I think that really is the conclusion that we need to come to, is for long distance, and this is what I find fascinating, for long distance shooting, these were absolutely fine because they corrected, they were accurate enough, and it had all of those reasons that you'd want them. They were cheaper, they're easier to make, they're easier to transport, but, and here's the but, they have to work at close range. And they work well enough at long range, but they do not work at close range. And that is why we have to go for the fletchings.
Yep.
In the comment section, there was a lot of mention of indigenous tribes who shoot without fletchings.
Yeah.
But they have the privilege of taking their own arrows and testing their own arrows and getting them good with their bow. So fletchings or no fletchings, they have the time to do that. Exactly. In a war scenario, issued munitions, that's not a thing.
Yeah. I think you're right. You know, munition, arrows, you don't know what you're getting. So with the feathers on, you're going to be a hell of a lot more accurate than if you just issued random arrows with no feathers.
There we are. So, Joe, fantastic.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
It's been brilliant. And I personally have really enjoyed doing this series of 3 films, all from a silly idea when I woke up one morning about something I'd once heard. But if you enjoy this, check out our other channel, Todd Cutler. So, of course, medieval weaponry is everything that I'm about. So go and check out the website, toddsworkshop.com, where you'll find the custom products and the more budget products, everything. But what you will find is you will be interested in it. And, of course, Joe is a bowyer with his own company.
Yep, so that's Gibbs Archery. You can find me on Instagram. I make traditional heavyweight longbows and flat bows and all sorts. So if you're interested in heavy bow archery, go visit Gibbs Archery. You'll get what you need.
And just to answer that original question of how to hit the guys who are just out of range, it's easy. Strip the fletchings off, shoot, give them a surprise. It really works.